Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're the Patreons, and this is the Patreon bonus story. So the first one is this. Let's just play this Ford commercial because it's got Jesse and I a little lathered up.
Thank you. Now let's get started. The future isn't created in a keynote address. Presidential speech did not land us on the moon. Millions of man-hours did. They built their way there.
Some will talk about the future, but you'd be a fool to believe them.
You see, talk doesn't get things done. Building does. Building like we have for the last 115 years. And building for the next century. Building cars, new technology, and transforming cities. So let the other guys keep dreaming about the future. We'll be the ones building it.
This is called The Future is Built, Ford commercial, and they hired Bryan Cranston, one of my favorite actors. He was in Breaking Bad. And I just want to point out, when your favorite actor speaks for a company you don't particularly like, it's good to remind yourself that he's a hired gun.
It's true.
If I hired him for enough money, he'd say whatever I put on the script in front of him.
It's true. Right. No, that's a very good point. It's not the same as...
I mean, George Clooney is running Nescafe ads, so I don't think, you know...
True.
You
don't think he drinks
I don't think he woke up in the morning like, how can I advertise for them?
Right.
I think they wrote him a big check.
Right. So you're saying it's not the same as, say... a couple people who are like really all about
I don't think Bryan Cranston called up Ford and said, "Could I do ads for you?"
Right. And he doesn't spend a lot of time, like he didn't make that commercial. Ford made that commercial. They spent, I mean, let's talk about
a lot of money,
the time, the energy, the man hours that they devoted to this commercial, when it's probably more time than they devoted to their EV or autonomous programs.
Good point.
It's so annoying. And then Jim Farley, who's Ford Motor Company's president of global markets, said in a statement, the company's got its swagger back. That is, first of all, something you don't say.
Right.
It first implies that the company didn't have swagger to begin with. Right. And then you're saying...
This commercial got it back?
What?
They didn't put out any new product. It's not like this commercial was for a new product that was blowing us away.
Right.
There's nothing new in this commercial.
They talk about like, oh, keynote speech doesn't do anything. It's about building stuff. They don't. They just show like these little snippets of like, autonomous whirligigs and maybe an electric car. Like, look, maybe?
This is obviously pointed at Tesla.
It is, definitely.
Okay. So you showed a keynote address where some big CEO is giving a speech. That's a Steve Jobs. That's an Elon Musk.
Definitely
right?
Steve Jobs.
And you're like, this doesn't do anything. Well, it's like, no, standing on stage doesn't do anything, except it does fire up the world about your new product,
which you had done all the work,
right?
The building.
And when someone like Elon or Steve Jobs comes out and announces their new product, like a Model 3 or an iPhone, it does revolutionize the world.
Right.
We're all holding smartphones and we're all driving Model 3s now because of these great leaders.
Right. And when a president says, we will go to the moon in this decade, it maybe spurs, that didn't launch the rocket. Exactly. Of course it wasn't. It was the man hours, but there needs to be inspiration.
And how dare they poke fun at a space company which is landing rockets now and launching the biggest rocket by far on Earth? I mean, how would you even have the guts to put that in your commercial? You're attacking a company that is doing it.
It's Ford is not doing well. I don't know if I don't generally keep up to date on all car companies. Now I kind of have to with this show.
The two little clips of Ford's, I realized, there's one of him driving that big Ford truck at the end through a desert. They're good at that. And also there's a quick...
Are they? Are they good at that? Because I've never done it.
And there's a clip of a autonomous, with some LiDAR sticking out of the roof. They've showed just a teeny little clip of it because their cars look so ridiculous.
With them on. Yeah.
And they're doing so little with them compared to Cruise Automation, Tesla, Waymo. So, and then they just do this little spiel in the middle of the commercial. Ford is changing the shape of, cities.
Right. No.
Have you seen Detroit? Is that how you like your cities to look? That's what you did to a city,
Well,
Ford.
no, I think that they're saying with autonomous transport but
they didn't say
what
that.
was their Ford Pass thing? The thing is, Ford Pass, you're just copying Uber and
Right.
Lyft, and they are the ones transforming the cities.
Right.
It's a very frustrating commercial.
It's how American companies do things now. They
Mm-hmm.
put out these commercials which are just for shareholders. Look, let's be honest. The share price went below $10 a share.
Right.
And they all sat around in a board meeting and they said, what can we do about this? And there was probably some younger guy in the back who's like, we could do some stuff like Tesla's doing.
Right.
And that was
They're
shot
like,
down.
Shut up! No!
You, what do you got? And he's like, we could do a multi-million-dollar ad campaign to let people know we've got our swagger back. Yes.
Let's get Bryan Cranston on that. Yeah.
Exactly. And brilliant choice of actor.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's a good commercial if you don't peer under the rug a little bit.
And for all those people out there who don't have a clue what's going on in technology, which is the most of the world,
True.
they're going to see something like that and be like, yeah, I knew buying a Ford was the right thing to do.
True.
It's to give you confidence. You know the American government spends money on making you feel good about things you've already done. Like the Commerce Department actually spends money to reiterate, like if you buy a used car, for instance. And this is one of those things. It's like, I bought a Ford, and now I feel good that I bought a Ford.
Right.
That's all it is.
You don't feel stupid after
Right.
that Model 3 just absolutely smoked you
Yes.
at the light. Whew. All right. Yeah.
All right, this is another one that's going to get our blood pressure
Oh,
up.
great. Okay, great.
So Charlie Gasparino, we showed him last week. He had tweeted out to Elon about the fact that his sources said,
Oh, he didn't tweet at Elon.
no, that's true.
Elon grabbed his tweet.
That's a good point. And I think this is what leads to this. Let's just watch this.
The other one we're looking at, Tesla. Tesla stock falling today, down 3%. That's a $10 drop. Charlie Gasparino is back from the newsroom. Some new debt issues. What's going on?
Well, not new debt issues, but remember last week when they reported very good earnings, CEO Elon Musk came out, confirmed Fox Business's report that they were not in immediate need for capital, that they were not going to go out and raise capital despite getting a lot of pitches from bankers. But here's what we've been doing. I've been following the bond prices, and this is a good proxy for whether, in fact, Musk is right that whether they don't need capital. If you look at the bond price of Tesla bonds, they're still trading comfortably below or uncomfortably below, depending on where you sit, below par. They're at 88 cents on the dollar. What does that mean? Quite simply, the market is saying that Tesla needs to raise capital, that they still have cash flow needs and issues. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that when you have two major bond issues due over the next 6 months, totaling about $1 billion, $200 million in November, another $900 billion in March of next year, you could have a cash flow problem. That plus the fact that you have to produce profits, you're expanding production of the Model 3, you're trying to lower the cost of the Model 3 to make it appeal to more people. This is a company still that, despite the really good earnings they had, and they had decent cash flow numbers for the third quarter, it's still, you could tell, it still has some cash needs. And the market is saying, pricing the bonds at 88 cents on the dollar. Again, below par and significantly below par, that this is a company that should go out and raise cash. Now, whether he does it or not, I can't tell you. I can tell you that he said on the earnings call, which confirmed the Fox Business report, that he's in no immediate need to raise capital.
And that's true as far as you can tell, even from the trading in the market. So this is a need, it's not an immediate need.
But he did not rule out at some point. So here we go, trying to figure out if this guy's coming to market at all. And he's getting pitched. He's getting pitched with bond-type financings and stock deals.
I thought he didn't have a title, by the way, at Tesla anymore, wasn't that?
Yeah, I read something about that. What was that all
I don't
about?
know. Nobody knows. That's the whole point. He tweeted out, I got rid of my title at Tesla, so now I have
sometimes he tweets out stuff I have
just playing
like he
around.
retweeted something I put out there.
Well, that's always a mistake.
But it was odd because he said something about the FOI on this will be amazing. I mean, it sounded like he was going to sue the Justice Department for leaking a story about the FBI kicking the tires or whatever.
Did you respond? Who's this guy Elon in his mom's basement?
No. Actually, he's one of the few good guys that retweet my stuff that doesn't live in mom's basement.
Charlie Gasparino. Check him out on Twitter. It's an experience. We should call that the Charlie Gasparino Twitter experience. All right.
So as you can see, I think what happened was the folks at Fox, the higher ups there, said, Charlie, how dare Elon use your tweet against us? This is a form of Machiavellian, jujitsu. We need to get back on the offensive. So pull up a chart of Tesla stock going down. And they're like, there's not many days of it going down, sir. Find an intraday stock chart where it goes down. And the second it goes down, get Charlie on the show.
Intraday.
So that sits up there for half of the piece, right? It's just this intraday chart. Intraday means one day. So that particular day, the stock was going down.
Right.
Then they just keep that up there the whole time as Charlie is going, yeah, and I've done some digging, and I found out that Tesla bonds are subpar.
Right.
And he goes on and on about that. That's going to lead to some bad stuff. Subpar bonds,
Right.
subpar bonds.
And he's like, Tesla said that they didn't need to raise capital going forward, but they will.
They will. They're going to need to raise $900 billion. He said $900 billion. I just want to say, on a financial channel, no one corrected him. The guy he's talking to could have gone, Charlie, I think you meant $900 million.
Oh, they need to raise $1 trillion?
Here's
Gee whiz, that's more than they've ever made or raised.
That's an entire country's worth of money.
Right.
Here's what this is designed to do. This is one of those little stories that's going to run in the middle of the day on Fox. And people who sit there watch Fox all day, I don't know who those people are exactly. It's for them. It's to make them go, oh yeah, Tesla stock. I know I should stay away from that.
Right.
It's just designed to keep the FUD going. It's
Right.
such a small thing that most people aren't even going to report on it like we do.
Right.
But that's what it is. And then at the end, the guy brings up the fact that Charlie's tweet was used by Elon. And you can tell it gets to him. And he's
Right.
just like, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't even follow. It makes no sense. It's just crazy talk. Kind of like all those crazy people that tweet at me all day long. Like, wow.
Right.
They're hurting so much. I
It's-
love to see it.
Yeah.
I love to see it.
Again, the grasping at straws thing. Like, there's no, Tesla posted-
Subpar bonds.
Right. That's all they have to go on.
Yeah.
Is debt and subpar bonds.
And
they're going to disappear. Those things are going to get better.
And I want to get back to what you said on the other part of the show. This is the fire hose falsehood propaganda, which
Yeah.
is if you keep saying something, subpar bonds, just keep saying it, it makes no sense. And yet, if you say it often enough, then other people go, did Charlie talk about subpar bonds? What's
Right.
that about? And then it just gets repeated and repeated and repeated till people are like, Tesla, subpar bonds.
Right. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people were giving better examples than just smoking last week.
Oh, yeah?
I was trying to remember some of them. Lead.
Lead's a good one.
Lead is a very good one.
Do you realize how many decades it took? So back in the 1910s, 1920s, scientists began to realize how bad lead was. And lead was in the gasoline of our cars. So just spewing into our cities, right?
Right.
And it took until 1977 to ban it from being painted on your house.
Right.
We now have whole laws here in the United States where we have to take care of all these houses that were painted with lead paint because the lead paint now causes the people inside the houses to get lead poisoning, namely children.
Right. Because they chew on the paint because they're children.
They had decades where they knew it was bad. You know why it kept being used? The lead lobby. Now, I know it sounds weird to now say lead lobby, like who the hell's the lead lobby? It was big chemical companies that wanted to keep using lead.
Right. And there's still people today who are like, man, lead paint was great.
Yeah, I still have a bucket down in the cellar that I love to use because it's great. Yeah,
It lasts forever. It's like, sure.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what else lasts forever? Asbestos. You know, that stuff's
I got
great.
a bucket of that too.
It's like, why, like, you need to have progress. You need to have things that don't kill you.
Right.
Because you can use the best, some of the most powerful stuff on earth will just kill you.
Yeah. Or how about, refrigerants?
Yeah.
There's really good refrigerants. They also kill the ozone layer.
Right.
So we don't use them. But people love to use them
Right.
because they work better than this other refrigerant.
Right. It's annoying stuff.
All right, here's some good news.
Uh-huh.
You want to go in and apply for a job with Elon? He asks a secret question.
Okay.
If you can answer that right, you move way up on the list, right?
Okay.
Here's the secret question.
I remember seeing this a while ago. Actually.
Yeah, this came out in Ashley Vance's book, and I remember when I read it, I thought, I hope no one else reads this book because I now know the answer. I've got to imagine by now everyone who goes in for an interview is probably
prepared for that question. I think he probably has some
a new
more
question. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
what I
he's
like about
pretty
this
bright.
question, though, is it does show it's not one of those riddles like Sphinx riddles that you learned as a kid on a Dixie cup. This is one of those riddles where you actually have to think to solve the solution. The problem is the internet. We're giving away the solution now. But it shows how Elon's big question that he does ask people, he's been known to ask this over and over, is tell me about your life. Tell me about the struggles you've had and how you've overcome them. And I think that's brilliant because it doesn't matter what area you were in. If you had struggles and you overcame them, that's what he wants to know about. How did you do it? He doesn't want to know that your life was perfect and easy. He wants to know how you solve problems because that's what engineers do.
Right. It's really a good point. And so many people that I meet in my, doesn't matter whether it's my working life, my school life, don't have sort of the critical thinking skills. I think it's been beaten out of them.
It really has been.
We talk a little bit about education on this show, and it's something that we wish we could talk about more. But it's just like our educational system does such a disservice to so many people. Having standardized tests and stuff where the teachers are just teaching to the test so that way you can pass the test. But then, what the hell is the point of that?
Yeah,
you get out into the real world and all of a sudden you have to make, real big decisions and you're just like, I don't have 4 choices. I can't eliminate 2 of them because they're obviously false, and then the other 2 I can determine based on there's none of that in the real world. You got to make, it's all open response basically. It's all, and then you don't get it back and it's graded and you get to know anything. It's all project based. It's all work based and doing
and also
things.
I want to say it's life is working with other people. And we don't do that in school either. It's sit at your desk quietly, don't look at his paper, don't talk to him, and do your work. And it's like you get out into the real world, and now you have to work together and share information.
And then sometimes there's group projects, and they're horribly mismanaged.
There's one person who does all the work.
One person who does all the work. That's the way it always is. It's a meme at this point. We know that that's true.
And they don't work at fixing that in school. They could, but they don't.
They they have different systems where they'll fail the kid who does the least amount of work in a group or something. But it's never. Well, they don't teach you how to do it. They're just like, you're in a group.
Right.
And then, Goody Two-Shoes Sally is just like, I really want to do well. I'll do all the work. Just please, do this one thing. That's the way it will always be. And it's just like, man, we got to fix it.
We do.
Because it's,
Well, here's something that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a little video from Bologna, Italy. Check this out.
Traveling green can now earn you free stuff.
Like beer, ice creams, or cinema tickets.
So how does it work?
In the Italian city of Bologna,
An anti-pollution scheme is rewarding people who get out of their cars and cycle, walk, or take public transport instead.
it's called Bella Mossa, or Good Job. Urban planner Marco Amadori set it up in 2017 to make sustainable travel more appealing.
So first you download the Better Points app,
Log your green journeys,
and finally swap your points for rewards.
For the first time we have been able to involve all people. Everybody will have the possibility to change a car trip into a bike trip or into a bus trip and be able to get some discount for his good behavior.
Over 100 local businesses have signed up to give away discount vouchers.
and people compete against each other to see who can earn the most points.
We decided to try it out, travelling green around the city over a few days.
200 points for that journey. I still need quite a few more to be able to get a cinema ticket.
The system of point collection is based not on the distance you travel, but on the single trip, because it's important that even also for a short trip of 1 kilometer, you do it in a sustainable way.
A GPS tracker makes sure people don't cheat.
And are using the form of transport they say they are.
The app also shows how much CO2 you saved on each journey.
You can only log 4 journeys each day.
So people have to keep using it over time to win rewards.
So that cost me about 3,000 points.
Bellamossa only runs for 6 months of the year and has been funded by the EU and Bologna's local government.
So is it making a difference? Last year, Bellamossa recorded 3.7 million kilometres of sustainable journeys just here in Bologna. Over 16,000 reward vouchers were claimed.
And so far in the first 3 months of this year, 10,000 people have already used them.
It encourages people to get moving. Loads of physical activity is always good for people's well-being.
It's very fun, but we also do it for the rewards. So I think more and more discounts would be better.
All right, so would you do it, Jesse? Would you cycle for beer?
Hell yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I don't like beer. I would do it for the ice cream.
Or for the cinema. I mean, it's a brilliant solution. First of all, this is just one city. It worked for 6 months. They only had to use it for 6 months. And it saved millions of kilometers of driving. Just think about that for a second, right? Tens of thousands of people used it. And it already, I mean, they didn't even talk about some of the benefits. There had to have been way less pollution. There had to have been way less traffic.
Right.
Parking must have gotten better.
Right.
And this was just one guy's idea in a tiny city in Italy. That means that you can reproduce this anywhere.
Right.
And yes, the EU and Italian government paid for this, so they put up the money to pay for the perks. But think about that. You got people to go to businesses. So I get a free ice cream, so I go to the ice cream shop, and now, hey, I found out this new ice cream shop, and now maybe I'm going to buy some more ice cream here.
Right.
And
it's not only that, but I mean, it's so much of the world is penny wise, pound foolish, of like, oh, we can scrimp and save this, we can cut this back. But what you end up doing is making something that doesn't work.
Right.
Or, a lot of government systems that just don't work because it's so cut back. Again, education. But whereas if you just give a little bit more, if you just give 5-10% more, you get way more in benefits. If you're penny foolish, pound smart, you can do all sorts of things, and this is exactly what he's doing. Yes, you're giving an ice cream to someone, but you know what? That person had to spend, it was 3,000 points, which was 8 non-car trips and plus the sign-on bonus. So like, you can imagine that could be 10 non-car trips just to get this one little thing. Like it's a small thing.
The exercise they got.
Exactly. The benefits you can't see
and
them
the
all.
Social benefits.
Right.
I mean, you're walking around the city now, so you're bumping into your friends and you're talking to people in the stores, and all those businesses are getting more business. I mean, just brilliant solutions that, again, we can't put a number on. Like, there's no way to say, like, this was a multi-billion-dollar thing.
Right, or they lost money. Of course, the libertarian approach to this would be like, they spent all this money and now it's gone. And it's not really true, because you are creating value for these people by
Health
not
benefits.
creating. Yeah, you're not creating traffic. So suddenly everyone got to work a few minutes earlier. That's hundreds of hours of hundreds of man hours of work that you just suddenly gained just one day.
And they're happier because they weren't stressed out in traffic.
Exactly. So your production just suddenly went up. Right. Everyone was more productive that day. That's so weird. You can't calculate it, but it's significant.
And some people might be saying, well, if this was such a brilliant idea, why didn't they do it 30 years ago? You know why? Because smartphones weren't around. You can only do this with a smartphone. It's tracking you so it can tell that you're lying. Otherwise, it would have to be completely on the honor system. And of course, that wouldn't work.
Or it'd have to be some kind of Soviet-era bureaucry. Like,
show your paper room 27
Yeah.
to get stamped by Dimitri.
You'll get your potatoes. It's yeah.
Right.
I mean,
because basically, I'm sure you could find a way to game the system, but the fact that it's tracking you and it knows your speed, knows that, okay, you couldn't have been in a car.
Right, and you can only do 4 trips a day.
Right.
I think that it's
brilliant.
It's pretty smart. Yeah. And I mean, if you just would apply that thinking to the rest of everything, to the rest of your city planning, so much better things can come from that.
Marco Amadori, if you're watching, congratulations.
Thank you.
Great idea.
Thank you for making the world a better place in your own special way.
All right, so what is this, Jesse?
So, you've seen wind turbines. I'm fairly certain. Yeah. What if you had a wind turbine, but it was underwater?
Okay.
So instead of using wind, you're using tidal currents.
Oh, okay. Currents go in and out every day. So you're just capturing that with this propeller.
So basically, this company in Scotland has said, we're going to take advantage of the tides using these underwater underwater turbines.
Oh, and they hooked up to a Tesla power pack.
Exactly. So that way you get a completely level... Because, I mean, the tide, it's not like you have a different sort of day and the tide is unpredictable.
Right. Every day it comes in, every day it goes out.
Yes,
Twice.
there are full and neap tides or whatever, but you can kind of account for that, again, with the battery.
Gotcha.
Something that you might not know is that you put this turbine underwater. Turbines are affected by lots of different things. It's the area of the sweep of the blades.
Yep.
It's the density. It's the speed of the fluid going past it, whether that be air or water. And then it's the density of the fluid.
Oh, so water is way more dense than air.
It's about 1,000 times more dense than air. So
how does that affect the formula?
If you were to hold all things constant, which is not true, but if you were to say you had a wind turbine and you dropped it underwater and the same speed of water is going past it, you'd make 1,000 times more power. Now, there are some caveats to that, some very important ones, such as cavitation.
Cavitation?
Yeah, so if the propeller blade gets spinning too fast, you create a low pressure zone, and basically it boils the water, and then it creates a vacuum, and then the vacuum collapses.
But I assume that doesn't happen with tides, so... a moot point, probably.
It would depend on how fast you've got your
gear it.
turbine to spin. So, I mean, you can't just have this turbine going...
Right.
And, you know,
chopping up
the
fish.
wind speed... Right. So, it's kind of an advantage in a way. A lot of environmentalists are like, wind power is bad because it hits birds and they die.
Oh, okay.
And that is bad. It depends on where you put the wind turbines.
Right.
That's a discussion onto itself. But underwater, the blades are going to be spinning much slower.
Oh, so fish can just kind of ignore it.
Right. If it bumps into a fish, it's not going to cut it in half.
Gotcha.
Which means that it depending on where you place it, it can be less environmentally impactful.
So this is a new development.
Right.
This is like we're seeing right now just a tiny kind of experiment to see how this works. But but if this does end up working, which it seems like it will, battery technology just kind of solved the problem.
Right, because, I mean, you'd get these peaks and valleys of power when the tide is all the way out and is about to come back in. Nothing's moving. As it's coming in, you get a lot of power. And the nice thing is, you know, the propeller spins both ways. And yeah, up until this point, it had mostly just been theorized that you could do this.
This lot could of people, be huge. I mean, I know nothing about this, but I mean, there's just millions of miles of coastline,
right?
And so there's millions of miles of tide, and it just seems like this is a no-brainer.
Right. This is a towable turbine that can make 600 kilowatts of power.
Okay,
which is pretty cool. You could imagine, this is just a fun idea that I have in my head, but you could imagine you're going on a trip with like, let's say a couple other Teslas, because you can charge a Tesla, let's say at a supercharger at 130 kilowatts, right? You could, you know, drive this thing down to the pier or whatever, drop it into the water, grab the extension cord, plug it into your 6 Teslas or whatever, and charge them up completely in an hour, and then drag it back out of the water.
Tesla beach superchargers.
Yeah, what do you think? But I mean, seriously, it's a lot of people have said this isn't feasible because obviously it's underwater. So if you have to repair it, what do you do? Send out divers.
A lot of stuff is underwater.
Exactly. Again, when we're talking about
if it's oil then it's like no problem. We'll just put whatever amount of divers we need to fix it.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago we talked about on Patreon bonus stories of divers who lived in a pressurized container on a ship.
Yeah.
Right? They lived in this pressurized container. They couldn't leave.
Nope.
And then every day they would go down in a pressurized diving bell to the bottom of the ocean.
For weeks.
And they'd live in this little, it looks like a space capsule. For weeks they'd live in there. And so they'd have to, they'd have a special toilet that could kill them if it malfunctioned. They had to get all their food from outside through an airlock. I mean, this crazy mind-boggling stuff just for an oil rig.
And I mean, we're talking offshore. If you do this this generation offshore, it's not going to be deep water.
Right. You can put it in the mouth of a big bay.
Right.
That's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck.
Yeah.
It's really exciting, it's exciting that they, this Scottish company that is testing it is already like Tesla batteries. They're freaking perfect for it. it's so exciting.
It is.
So anyway,
thank you for being our patrons.
It's great.
It is.
I look forward to the Patreon bonus stories every week because it's great. We get to tell you about stuff. You know, we get to show you Ford commercials and stuff that we just can't put on the main show. A lot of people are saying, why don't you let everyone see it? If we made it public, we wouldn't be able to monetize it. Now, that's not the end of the world, but we might get a takedown notice, and it could
we definitely would
be ripped off of YouTube. Which is why we get to do this special thing with just you guys every week, and that's why we can't. That's why it's not like this video that pops up in your YouTube feed, and you have to go to Patreon to actually see it. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for watching. Feel free to leave comments. You know, we're just so excited to have you here. This is such a wonderful community, and so thank you, everybody.